Andy, no. How are you, sir?
Hello, thank you for having me on, Ms. Barnett.
Yes, absolutely. Andy No is a New York Times bestseller of the book Unmasked: Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy. Andy, you popped up on the screen for me maybe 5 years ago. And it was a scene out of a horror flicks of you. I don't know if it was Milkshake that was on you, but you were in the mid. I don't know if you were in Seattle or somewhere over there on the East Coast, on the West Coast, but you had been attacked. And it was a horrific attack. And I began to see you over the years come out through that and articulate clearly for us the dangers, the unique dangers of Antifa. Can you remind us about that day?
Yes, it was in 2019 in Portland, Oregon, which is where I'm originally from, and I was beaten by a mob of Antifa whilst reporting on one of their many protests turned riots, and they punched me and kicked me so severely that I suffered a brain bleed. And during that assault on the mob, also threw all these drinks on me, which is um, the photos from that time document that.
Right.
So I've experienced their violence myself personally several times, unfortunately. And I think what the public needs to know about Antifa is that they are a violent extremist, far left, communist, anarchist movement and ideology and network of cells of people who are seeking to destroy America by any means necessary. And they use violence to achieve those goals. And in certain jurisdictions where Democrats are in power, like Portland and many urban areas around the United States, they effectively have somewhat of a free reign to terrorize people and to deny them of their civil rights.
You said violent. Antifa is a violent, extremist, far left group. Their aim is to destroy America. But I remember back in 2020, we were told they were, our white children, our young white children who want to stop fascism and save America. That sounds very different from what you're describing.
We were told and are told many lies about the far left, even the violent far left, because legacy media is generally captured, and there are people who are either sympathetic to those goals of the far left or are actually fellow travelers, unfortunately. The deception of Antifa is they want moderates and liberals to think that they are just fighting fascism, which is a big lie. What they actually do is on the streets, they don masks and black clothing and carry weapons like melee weapons, as well as guns and knives and other deadly weapons, and go out, riot, start fires, assault citizens, assault law enforcement, attack infrastructure, carry out domestic terrorist attacks. There were just now over 15 people in northern Texas who are facing attempted murder and domestic terrorism charges, both locally as well as federal charges, for a shooting attack on an ICE facility. And those extremists are alleged to be part of a far left Antifa type of militia group. And very few people have probably even heard of this, even though it was a FBI most wanted case and Texas top 10 most wanted. So the media covers for them at any and every turn, even when they've killed people. They in 2020 during the riots in Portland, and not just in Portland, but other cities that did hundreds of millions in damage to the economy, there were people that were killed.
Now, just like, as an American citizen, my First Amendment gives me the freedom of speech. However, I cannot walk into a crowded theater and scream fire we have decided as a nation that that causes harm. It is not a good thing. Why is it that we, having the history that we have now, the cumulative history from 2020, 2019 to today, why are we not saying that what we are seeing with Antifa, black mask, their faces all masked up, they're in black attire, walking around creating mayhem? We have many years now of information that tells us this is not good, this is dangerous, it's not freedom of expression. Why? What is stopping us as politicians or Americans of saying, wait a minute, this is not a good thing. We need to say no to this. You can't walk around with your face all masked up.
I think the machine, the liberal media machine, is so powerful that it continues to incite Trump derangement syndrome to the point where people who dislike the current administration turn a blind eye to the excesses on their own side, or they are in denial about it. And you're right, it's been going on for a very long time. I've been reporting on Antifa since election night 2016. That's a really long time ago. And that was the first time I saw Antifa up front, face to face, destroying property and starting fires. So, that's why I initially spent many years going out and taking video. I didn't do too much writing early on in my journalism career. I did the videos because I wanted people to see with their own eyes what was actually happening. Eventually, that's why I became targeted, and many of my colleagues and peers in independent media have been violently assaulted, robbed, because Antifa view, they say your camera is a weapon. That's like one of their slogans. They believe that journalists who actually do reporting on them are a threat to them. So they attack them, they issue death threats, and we are just sort of left entirely on our own. We get no institutional support from these journalist organizations. And of course, those in liberal media never condemn those type of threats that come from the violent far left or Antifa.
This brought me so much joy. Do you have that video, Dan, available? This brought me so much joy when I went on your page last night and I saw this video that you posted. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on, yeah, thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the actual video there, but it's black people coming out and forcing Antifa. Usually it's the opposite, Andy. You see Antifa showing up and all hell breaking loose. But in this video, you see black people showing up saying, get the you-know-what out of our community. And Antifa looking like the little wimpy kids, theater kids that they are, or hanging their head down and walking away.
So that video was recorded on the 19th of August in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, New York. Antifa and other far-left extremists have put out flyers online trying to agitate for a riot on a night meant to honor an anniversary of a death of a young black child that died decades ago, Gavin Cato, in 1991, in which sparked the deadly race riots in Crown Heights. And Antifa went there to try to agitate for race riots again on this evening, and they were not welcomed by the people who lived there locally. And I think white liberals have a certain guilt where they are tolerating all manner of sort of violence and destruction in community, like what happened in Portland 5 years ago during the riots by BLM. But black communities seeing white people who are hooded and masked coming in and are a foreign presence essentially to their community, they're not okay with that. and they have no problem with pushing them out, which is what this video showed and why it went viral, because people were very happy to see people push back against this extremist movement.
Yeah, it brought me a lot of joy. Andy, no, you have a bestseller book, on a New York Times bestselling book, Unmasked: Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy. I would encourage each of you to go out there and get that. But I'm assuming a lot of what we've been talking about is what's in your book.
Yes, I go into details of particularly how 2020 happened and the ideology and history of Antifa. And they have remobilized and are agitating for more political violence currently under the against President Trump and his administration.
Thank you so much for being on, Andy.
My pleasure. Thank you.